What's up, y'all? What's up? Welcome to the Pugilistic Linguistics Show. I am your host, Michael Foster, the voice of reason in an increasingly unreasonable world, and I am back. Before I get started, like I say all the time, like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you get notified when I drop new episodes. Share this among your people, share this among your peers. Tell everybody about this podcast. Let's blow this up in 2026. Because I swear, the way the world is going nowadays, we don't know if there's going to be a 2027. But meanwhile, like, share, subscribe, get this out to the masses. So I'm going to come with something today that, I don't know, it's just kind of been banging around in my head. It won't be the most obvious thing that's going on March 1st, 2026. I'll do that in another episode. The war in the Middle East that seems to constantly be raging. We'll get there. But today is something a little less dire, but still on my mind nonetheless. So, I'm a child of the 80s, 90s. I grew up on R&B music. And being a child of the 80s and 90s, mostly 90s, it's kind of when I came into my own. If you're in R&B in the 90s, especially from Chicago, you gotta be, well, I mean, I wouldn't say gotta be, but mostly you were probably an R. Kelly fan. Okay. And that's just kind of undeniable. If you were in R&B in the 90s, and especially from Chicago, you were an R. Kelly fan. I think that was in the black covenant of the times. You would have your black card revoked if that wasn't the case. Now, the thing about R. Kelly, he's always been problematic. Okay. I distinctly remember this had to have been early 90s when he was still with his group Public Announcement. And they were, I guess, starting to get some national notoriety, but they were still mostly a local kind of group that was blowing up at the time. My mother, who worked at Chicago City Hall forever, knew a guy that was a part of R. Kelly getting on. I don't know if he was his manager at the time or knew his manager or somehow or another he was in R. Kelly's atmosphere around that time. And he knew my mom. So she comes home one day and she says, "Hey, have you heard of this guy named R. Kelly?" And I had heard a couple of his songs up to that point. I was like, yeah. Now, again, this was when he was starting to get uh, national notoriety. I said, yeah, I've heard of him. What about him? She was like, yeah, something ain't right with that dude. I was like, what do you mean? She says, I know such and such. And he was telling me a story about how R. Kelly likes young girls. Now, at that time, he had to have been, what, 20 something? I don't know, mid 20s maybe? I don't know. And I'm thinking young girls, if you mid 20s, young girls is 20, 18, something like that. She's like, no. He's the kind of dude, and this is the story that was relayed to her. He would walk into a room full of women and invariably always pick the youngest ones out the group and want to spend time with them. And I just found that interesting. I didn't really. Now, this was 91, 92, something like that. I didn't really it she told me the story, it registered, but I didn't really, I don't know, go off the deep end about it. So that seed was planted. Cut to the Aaliyah days, what, 95, 96, when she was 15. And I remember when they went on Video Soul wearing matching outfits. Your Video Soul, I'm old. With matching outfits, the matching Mickey Mouse outfits. That was back in the day when you had the Mickey Mouse on the pack, on the pocket, and the plaid sleeves. It was pure '90s. But they go on and wearing matching outfits. This is when he produced her first album. And the first album was called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Again, these have all, looking back on it, all this stuff was right in our face at the time. We just either didn't see it, didn't recognize it, whatever. But anyway, they're on Video Soul, and Kells is, mid 20s, Aaliyah is like 15, and Donnie Simpson asked, is there something going on between you two? And Aaliyah just called. She said, no, he's just my special friend. Another breadcrumb that we ignored. I also distinctly remember around that time on Fox 32 News, Walter Jacobson, and my Chicago folk remember all this. Walter Jacobson, who was like an investigative reporter, he actually showed the R. Kelly Aaliyah marriage certificate on the news, saying this 27-year-old dude, or however old he was, maybe he was 27 at the time, I don't know, but this 27-year-old dude is married this 15-year-old girl. Here's a marriage license, and showed it on the news. So this whole surviving R. Kelly, it's been known. It ain't nothing new. Yeah, that was him on the video with the 12-year-old girl, however old she was. Yeah, that was him. He talk his ass off. That was him. I know it, you know it, he know it. She know it. Okay? So it had always been there. There's always been there. Where there's smoke, there is fire. Okay. Now, with all that being said, I still listen to R. Kelly's music. Now, I don't buy any new stuff or newest stuff, the stuff that he released relatively recently, just because I always felt like, dude, you're in your 50s now, make different music. This is after the stepper stuff. This is the Black Panty stuff and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're 50. Make old man music. Stop making music with 20-year-olds. You ain't 20 no more. That's the way I felt about it. But yep, I still listen to 12 Play. I still listen to R. I still listen to TP2. I still listen to Chocolate Factory and Happy People and any other steppers. Write Me Back, I think that was the name of that album. Any other stepper, I still listen to it, and I don't feel a certain kind of way about it. Now let me preface this by saying what he did was abhorrent. I'm not one of them dudes to say, oh, he's railroaded and he got a raw. No, he did that shit. He did all that shit. Okay. He deserves what he's gotten. But I don't think that should disqualify me from listening to music that I grew up with. And yes, I can have one foot on each side of that fence. And I feel nothing about it. Now, why? Because as long as white folk can listen to Jerry Lee Lewis without condemnation, Jerry Lee Lewis, who married his 14-year-old first cousin when he was a grown ass man, without condemnation. As long as white folk can listen to Elvis, who was chasing a 16-year-old Priscilla, and he's still the king, and they still flock to Graceland 50 years after his death. As long as white folk can listen to Ted Nugent, who made a song called Jailbait, without condemnation. As long as white folk can listen to Kid Rock, who made a song about underage sex and all that. As long as that is okay, I'm gonna listen to R. Kelly and step my ass off and not think nothing of it. You gotta understand, it's music. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some songs that, in retrospect, I'm like, ooh, that's suspect as hell. It seems like you're ready off 12 play. That's some shit you say to a 15-year-old when you're trying to talk her into bed. When you listen to it now, you hear it. And I'll be real with you, I might have heard it then. It just didn't register. But yeah, some of his songs are problematic. I'm not gonna lie and act like it's not true. But as a whole, as long as white folk can listen to those folk and others, those are the ones I come off the top of my head with. I'm sure I can come up with other ones if I sat down and dug through music history. Or even TV. What's the cat's name? Stephen Collins, that was on that show Seventh Heaven. Played a preacher and was molesting teenagers. He admitted it. And Seventh Heaven is still being shown in reruns in some places. Yeah, and I'm supposed to stop watching the Cosby Show because Bill Cosby did things in his personal life? Hell no. I still watch the Cosby Show and laugh my ass off like I've never seen it before. I don't live in double standards. I like and do what I like. And you should too. So, with all that being said, I get flack for my R. Kelly stance. And that's whatever. Couldn't care less. I need y'all to understand, I'm not one of them dudes you can cancel because I don't care. You can't cancel somebody that don't care. As a quick aside, that's how Dave Chappelle is so successful. He don't give a damn about being canceled. You can't cancel somebody that don't care. So yeah, my R. Kelly stance might be problematic to some, but not to me. But that leads me to another point. And this will be kind of meandering, so just follow me. I'm going to get back to where I need to be. It gets me to another point. I have a problem with church these days. Again, just follow me. I have a problem with church these days. There are far too many shade tree ass pastors out there who talk a good game, who say one thing and do something completely different. They want to stand in front of you talking about God told me this, that, and the third, give me your money. Especially these so-called celebrity pastors, the Marvin Sapps and the Creflo Dollars and the Joel Osteens of the world, Eddie Longs of the world. You gonna stand in front of me, tell me that God told you that I'm not living right, yet you doing who knows what with who knows who. Give me your money. And then when I speak to somebody who is in the church about my issue with the church, their main statement, statement as to absolve the preacher of his humanly failures is I'm supposed to separate the man from the message. Listen to what he says. Don't look at his life. Separate the man from the message. The preacher is a man, and therefore he's subject to human failures. But he's still a man of God, and you should still listen to what he has to say. I'm sorry. I'm apparently not spiritually mature enough to listen to a man who I saw at the club last night tell me Sunday morning that I ain't living right. But I just saw you chasing ass at Club Zenith last night. And you married. But I'm supposed to separate you from what you say. Ain't no way in hell I'm going to do that. But that's always the excuse given when I'm supposed to absolve a preacher. And I'm now, mind you, I don't expect him to be perfect. But there are some things that you can control. You can control chasing ass as a pastor. You can control adultery or your cocaine addiction or any other humanly. There's some things you can control and eliminate. And you, a man of God, ask God for deliverance from it. Donnie McClurkin. No, not Donnie McClurkin. Who was the We Fall Down guy? I can't think of his name. Right? Maybe they did. I don't know what his name is. The guy who sang We Fall Down, whatever his name is. There is a lawsuit out because he was chasing this dude. Again, I don't know if it's McClurkin. It might be somebody else. But he wrote a book about his life, talking about how God delivered him from homosexuality. First of all, there's no deliverance from homosexuality. That is a hardwired thing in your brain. Ain't no deliverance from that. You talk your ass off. But he out there chasing dudes. To the point where the dude had to get a restraining order against him. And is suing him. I mean, come on, dude. Then how you going to stand in front of me on Sunday morning? Not the homosexuality thing. That's your thing. But you chasing, I guess if it's chasing skirts for a woman is what? Chasing pants for a dude? Whatever. You chasing pants and you got a significant other. How you going to tell me in my singleness that I'm too promiscuous? Separate the man from the message. I can't do that. Now, what does it have to do with R. Kelly? Well, if I'm supposed to separate the man from the message when talking about a so called man of God, why can't I do the same thing, separate the man from his actions when R. Kelly's involved? So what you're basically saying is I have to hold an R&B singer to a higher standard than a man of God? Make that make sense. Shouldn't the man of God be above reproach? But I'm supposed to hold an R&B singer to a higher standard than a so-called man of God. And then I'm supposed to go to church every Sunday, give him my money. Make it make sense. You can't. It's a hypocrisy to the highest order. That's why I'm gonna listen to R. Kelly. I'm gonna like what I like. You're gonna listen to Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis and Ted Nugent and Kid Rock and any other deviant that you're gonna listen to. And if you want to go to a church led by a man that you know ain't about shit, do you. But what you're not going to do is pass judgment on me for what I do. Because for every finger pointed at me, there are 5 pointing at you. Again, I'm not going to hold an R&B singer to a higher standard than I hold a so-called man of God to. If that keeps me out of church for the rest of my life, then so damn be it. Hell, going to church doesn't send you to heaven anyway. Because a lot of people sitting in them pews is going to hell anyway. So, I just had to get that off my chest. Now you know how I feel about it. I need you to understand I don't care how you feel about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to step in the name of love, whether you like it or not. So, anyway, let me step down off my soapbox, put it in the closet till next time, and I will talk to you all later. Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, put in the comments, do you listen to R. Kelly? Do you listen to any of these so-called deviants? How do you feel about the man in the message thing? Let me know. All right? I'm going to get on down now. Until we meet again, take care of each other. Because we all we got. Peace.